All right, practice problem 2.8, millimeters, grams, and seconds, part origin as indicated, um, back, bottom, back left. Um, let's see, fully defined sketches, lines, center lines, trim, offset entities, extrude. Um, didn't even think about trim in the last 2.7. 2.8 is optional, so we'll we'll introduce trim, but I haven't regularly trimmed for probably close to 10 years. Um, with the sketch contours and regions, um, there's just there's just times where trim creates more problems than it's worth, and it's not really necessary. So prior to adopting the contours and regions and uh, some of these sketch strategies, I would have trimmed all of the time, but we'll review the trim options on this one and go through the process. So the 30 by 250 by 150, the dreaded 150, 12 millimeters thick, and the sides 15. Did they? Oh, there's the radius, 6 millimeters typical. All right, so new metric part. We are looking at the isometric as the front plane, and since I was having so much fun with rectangles, we're going to do another rectangle. Now I do want to make this one a little bit smaller because last time we turned on the scale the first. Nope, don't want the midpoint. We turned, so I just did escape to get out of the midpoint selection. And I placed the first dimension, and that is 250. So it showed me 64, and poof, it just scales. All right. Prior to the scale on the first dimension, there are times where if this was really drastically skewed in one direction, it may look like it's really thin or really wide compared to whatever. But it takes all of the geometry and says, hey, whatever's close, we're good. Just keep moving. All right, so we're going to put a line from there to there. And I'm going to add a dimension. And the 20 millimeters. And I am going to, even going to the point, I am going to, look for that line because those points still have the ability to orbit or do some strange things at times. So let's go ahead and address the trim before I forget about it again. Under the trim entities, there is also an extend, but really most of the time you can just drag and it does whatever and achieves the same results. So very rarely do you have to extend, but power trim is whatever is crossing. So left click, hold down, and poof. We'll undo that one and go back into trim. Let's see, a corner trim. And then you have settings, keep trim entities as construction geometry. Already makes a corner, so it's not really crossing, so that doesn't help. Trim away inside. That would be like between things. Trim away outside, also between something that's already established. Trim to closest. That's probably the one I use the most in that I can just select those two items and it's ready to go. I do want to see, because I haven't really paid attention, ignore trimming of construction geometry. So I guess the power trim, it would just jump over those. Keep trimmed entities as construction geometry. Oh, that's kind of fun. All right, I'm good with that. So you do have some trim options. I'm gonna say that know how to do it because there will be times where it will be helpful, but you really shouldn't have to do it that often. All right, so let's try the offset entities because So we do have a chain. So it must have been that I was pre-selecting. All right, so I have that habit of pre-selecting and picking up the geometry. So without pre-selecting, I can do the select chain. And this comes to a point. So once we get to 15, I should see something that's a little bit more, yeah, there's still a little bit of a flat there. So that's interesting. Maybe a little bit of a flat there. All right, we're going to go ahead and try the extent of the sketch fillet. So I think that's pretty good. And I want to add the sketch fillet, but because I can't really select that vertex with the flat, I do want to see what it's going to do picking like that. Okay, so we can go ahead and accept that one. And it left me a line, which is not surprising. This one, probably the same thing. And if you notice, the mouse icon that flashed briefly had a right button with a check mark. I could have hit that and put it out there. So the line's going to stay fully defined. And if I wanted to keep that for whatever reason, we could. So just be aware that the offset did generate or did not generate sharps. So I have to decide what to do with those. If I made them construction geometry, there's a possibility that if it was red one way or the other, it could possibly try to do a thin feature. So I don't want to just leave them and hope for the best. All right, so we're going to go into the features, extrude 12 millimeters, and hit OK. All right, so there's our shape, and we'll go ahead and save this. 2-8. And our mass properties then, which one did it go? That was the, all right, 118, 440. We are at 347, so somewhere I missed 100. 347 versus 440. All right, that's a good one. All right, so let's go back and just do a quick overview of the sketch. 6 millimeters typical. 15. All right, so if I just double click on the sketch, we're not going to see the blue dimension because it's moving away from us. Oh, there was the other 16. So, or the other 6 radius, and overlook that one. So let's see if that makes a difference. 439, 973. So one little oversight will get it tripped up. But still, 100. Hard to believe there's 100 cubic millimeters in that little. But 250 by 150, yeah, that's pretty long. So it added some geometry in there. Fun stuff.